Welcome to Wortley Hall walled garden, which is a very old, 200-year-old kitchen garden. It's been restored by Healy City Farm since 2004. It's a certified organic site, so we try and manage it mindful of wildlife as well as trying to be a productive kitchen garden. And so that's why we're here today, to have a look at different features and methods we use in the garden to try and attract wildlife and thereby increase biodiversity but also help our crops grow healthily. So let's have a look around the garden and see what features and methods we employ to attract wildlife. So these peppers here, when they were planted out as seedlings in April, they very quickly caught a little infestation of aphid, which is quite common in the spring. There were no predators around at the time, but very soon after, ladybirds began to emerge, lay their eggs in here in this polytunnel where it's nice and warm, and their larvae, which look like small alligators, started to eat the aphids, and within a few weeks they were clean as they are now, and so the plants have gone on and grown nice fruits. So we planted this herb border many years ago, partly because it's just outside the polytunnel entrances here. It could be a small polytunnel or greenhouse on your allotment. It's the same kind of situation. And it's here partly because it looks nice to have some flowering herbs. They're useful plants, they're mainly medicinal and culinary herbs growing along here. But the real ulterior motive above all is to grow flowers that attract beneficial insects. So for example, the yarrow here will attract hoverflies in their hundreds on a nice day. And then the hoverflies hopefully will sense the warmth coming out from the greenhouse or polytunnels, fly in there, lay their eggs, and you've got hoverfly larvae, which are the most effective eaters of aphid that there are. So here we have a very old pear avenue, so these are old Victorian pear varieties, and we leave the far end of this uncut, so you can see there singing nettles and ivy above all, both useful habitat for wildlife. So the nettles, these host eggs of small tortoiseshell butterflies, which are becoming rare now, so they're nice to have around the garden. And the ivy flowers quite late and has fruit through the winter, so that's useful both for flying insects as pollen and nectar, and then the fruit of the ivy is useful for birds through the winter. This area here is being rested. It's between growing edible crops, so rather than leaving it bare or leaving it open just to being taken over by weeds, we've sown a green manure. This green manure is crimson clover, a Canadian variety, so it's hardy enough to grow through the winter, and we'll plough it back under in spring. But in the meanwhile, it's flowering, so it's fodder for bees and other insects. There's lots of mass, so it'll add carbon to the soil once it's incorporated into the soil, and it's fixing nitrogen at the same time, so when it's ploughed under, that will be released and will help feed the food crop, which I think will be potatoes next year in here. So another really crucial feature of a garden would be the compost heap. Here's our pile of weeds that we're amassing at the moment this time of year. It consists of weeds and thinnings from harvesting as well, anything else we can find. And that's really sort of the driver of building and maintaining soil fertility, but also biodiversity, because the more organic matter in the soil, the more food there is for grubs, worms and other small creatures, and they end up being the bottom part of the food chain for birds and mammals and all sorts of creatures. So it's crucial to make compost both in terms of building soil fertility but also for the wildlife. So we're in the orchard at the top of the walled garden, which has been here for about the last 10 years, and so it's quite productive trees now. But it gives us space, and there's always little pockets of space in the allotment just to grow some annual flowers. Anything that you like that flowers profusely and attractively. We've got a whole long bed here of snapdragons and antirrhinums, and they're providing food for bees and bumblebees at the moment.